The rain hit the rooftop like bullets from the sky, relentless and cold. Inside the grand hall of my father's mansion, everything looked perfect. The chandeliers glowed like stars, the marble floors gleamed, and expensive guests in black suits and diamonds smiled like they weren't rotting on the inside. But beneath the golden glow of celebration, I felt it, the storm. And he was the eye of it. Damien Voss. A name whispered in back alleys like a curse. A man whose smile was colder than death. A mafia king cloaked in tailored suits and sins no god would ever forgive. He didn't walk into the room. He conquered it. His presence sliced through the air like a blade, making the music falter and my heartbeat stall. Every eye turned to him, and every soul shrank, including my father's. I stood still in my emerald gown, my back straight, my hands trembling. He wasn't supposed to be here. But when Damien Voss wants something, not even fate can say no. And tonight, what he wanted, was me. 3 hours earlier. Arya, my father snapped, his voice low but sharp. Do not speak when they arrive. Just smile. I raised an eyebrow, brushing my white blonde hair behind my shoulder. Who is they, exactly? He didn't answer. But the fear in his eyes said enough. A fear I had never seen before. A fear born from debt, from betrayal, and from a deal made with the devil. The door burst open. I didn't know what I expected. But I didn't expect him. Tall. Impossibly tall. Dressed in black. Not the kind of black you wear. The kind that owns you. Eyes like a storm, cold, gray, and watching me like I was a chess piece he'd already claimed. Damien Voss. Miss Arya, he said smoothly. You look breakable. My father paled. Please. We agreed she wouldn't be involved. Damien raised a gloved hand. We agreed. No. I spoke. You listened. Then his eyes met mine again. Unblinking. Unapologetic. There's a debt, he said. And you're the payment. Now. My wrists were cold from the silver cuffs. Not chains. No, Damien Voss didn't use chains. He used silk. Wrapped me in soft luxury while he stripped away everything else. We were in his penthouse now, floors above the world, surrounded by darkness and glass. The city lights below us flickered like dying stars. I didn't agree to this, I spat. You weren't asked, he replied coolly, unbuttoning his jacket. Your father sold you the moment he signed his loyalty away. You think I'll just let you touch me? I hissed, backing away. He didn't follow. He didn't need to. I don't need your permission, Arya, he said. I already own you. My breath caught. You want to break me? I whispered. Is that it? You think using me will make you feel powerful? He chuckled. No, darling. I already am powerful. Breaking you, that's just a bonus. Flashback, the contract. You said no blood, my father begged. Please, Damien, not her. She's innocent. Damien echoed. She's your daughter. That makes her guilty by blood. He turned to me, placing a black folder on the table. Sign, he said. I glanced at the contract. It wasn't a marriage license. It was a possession agreement. I was to live under his roof. Obey him. Serve him. Belong to him. No escape. No name. No rights. Just a body. I'd rather die, I said. Then I'll make you wish for death, he replied. Back in the penthouse. I stood at the window, watching the rain slide down the glass like tears I refused to cry. Damien sat behind me, pouring whiskey like the devil preparing a sermon. You're quiet tonight, he said. Maybe I'm plotting. He smirked. Good. I like my toys sharp before I dull them. I turned to face him. Why me? He didn't blink. Because breaking you will hurt your father the most, he said. And because I wanted to see what kind of sounds you make when you stop pretending to be strong. My face burned. You're disgusting. I'm honest, he said, standing. And tonight, you're mine. The first touch. He reached for me. Not violently. Not even quickly. It was slow. Cruel. A finger brushed my collarbone. I flinched. But I didn't run. Because part of me wanted to understand the monster before I killed him. I could scream, I whispered. You could, he said. But you won't. Why not? He leaned close, his breath brushing my ear. Because you're curious. I hated him. But I hated that he was right more. A game of control. He led me to the bed, not by hand, but by command. And I followed, not because I was weak, but because I wanted to see just how far he'd go before he broke himself. He didn't undress me. He didn't touch my skin. He simply stood before me, eyes locked to mine. This is your warning, he said. You sleep in my bed. You live under my rules. You speak when spoken to. You please when asked. And if I don't? I asked, chin raised. He smiled darkly. Then I take pleasure in breaking you. Midnight thoughts. That night, I lay in his bed, untouched, but not unclaimed. I could feel his presence even when he wasn't near. He'd created a prison without bars. A war without guns. A desire that terrified me. Because part of me wanted to see what would happen if I let him win. And part of me wanted to make him beg. I wouldn't be his toy. No. I would become the woman who made the devil bleed. Sun rose like a lie. Soft golden light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse, brushing over velvet sheets, untouched skin, and a silence thick with tension. I opened my eyes to the unfamiliar ceiling, my body wrapped in silk sheets that didn't feel like comfort, they felt like chains. He hadn't touched me. Not last night. Not yet. But it was coming, the moment he'd break me. I could see it in his eyes. He didn't want my heart. He didn't even want my fear. He wanted my destruction. But he underestimated me. I might have been trapped. But I was no one's victim. And if he thought this game was one-sided, then he hadn't met the real me yet. I found him in the kitchen, dressed in a crisp black shirt rolled at the sleeves, sipping his morning espresso like he hadn't chained a girl to his world hours ago. Sleep well? He asked without looking at me. Do all your prisoners get 5-star treatment? He glanced over his shoulder. Only the ones worth breaking slowly. I walked barefoot across the cold marble floor, chin up, robe clinging to me like I belonged there. He watched me sit across from him. Silent. Calculating. Then he pushed a plate toward me. Fruit. Toast. Eggs. Simple. Like I wasn't a pawn in a twisted war. You expecting me to say thank you? I asked. He smirked. I expect you to eat. And not collapse when I decide to test your limits. I held his gaze, fork in hand. You'll need more than breakfast to destroy me. He leaned in, eyes gleaming. Oh, darling. I won't destroy you with force. I'll make you crave your own ruin. After breakfast, he laid them out. 3 rules. Rule 1, no leaving the penthouse without him. Rule 2, no phones. No communication with the outside world. He'd already burned mine. Rule 3, obey. I didn't laugh. Because I knew men like him didn't make empty threats. They made examples. What if I break your rules? I asked, standing with arms crossed. He closed the distance between us in 2 strides. His hand reached out, not to hurt me, but to brush a lock of hair from my face. It was more terrifying than a slap. "Then I break something of yours," he whispered. The days were like cages. Elegant, cruel cages made of gold, silence, and unwanted attraction. He watched me constantly. Not like a man watches a woman. But like a predator watches something it's not ready to eat, but already owns. I'd find him standing in doorways. Leaning on walls. Waiting at the top of stairs. Silent. Observing. Thinking. And when our eyes met, it was like staring into a storm that wanted to swallow me whole. One night, I wore a red silk nightgown. Just to see what he'd do. His jaw clenched. But he said nothing. He simply walked past me, brushing my shoulder with his fingertips, and left me trembling. Not with fear. With rage. And something I didn't want name. Happened on the 5th day. I tried to escape. He was out. I broke a window with a crystal vase, climbed out onto the fire escape, and made it 3 stories down before I heard his voice. Going somewhere? I turned slowly. He was standing on the balcony above. Arms crossed. Eyes glowing. Damien Voss didn't shout. He didn't chase. He simply descended, step by step, until he stood in front of me. His hand gripped my chin, forcing me to look up at him. "You're bleeding," he said, brushing my cheek. I winced. "Good," he whispered. "Pain will teach you what obedience never could." Then he pulled me into him. Not with violence. But with claiming. And for one breathless second, our bodies touched, chest to chest, fire to fire, and I hated how warm he felt. Back in the penthouse, he didn't speak. Not for an hour. He let the silence stretch until I wanted to scream. Then he brought out the collar. Black leather. Silver buckle. I backed away. "You're insane." He didn't argue. Instead, he pinned me to the wall with one hand. "Every time you run," he said, "I make sure the world sees you wearing my mark." He fastened it around my throat. Not tight. Just enough to remind me. I belonged to him. And no one was coming to save me. That night, he didn't go to bed. He sat in the leather chair near the window, a glass of whiskey in hand, watching the rain. I couldn't sleep. I was still wearing the collar. Still burning with humiliation. Fury. Confusion. "Why me?" I asked in the dark. He didn't look at me. "I could have taken anyone," he said. "But your father needed pain. And you were the only thing left in his life worth breaking." I swallowed. "So this is about revenge?" "No," he whispered. "This is about power. And what happens when I stop being afraid of you?" He finally looked at me. "You'll still beg." A week passed. He stopped locking the bedroom door. He let me sit with him during his meetings. He even brought me a book. "Is this your way of pretending I'm not a prisoner?" I asked, flipping through the pages. "No," he said. "It's my way of softening the blow before I ruin you." One night, I sat beside him on the couch. Close. Too close. Our hands touched. Just for a second. He didn't move. Neither did I. And in that stillness, something shifted. The air turned heavy. His breathing changed. I looked at him. And he was looking at me like he couldn't decide whether to kiss me or kill me. I spoke to one of his men that afternoon, a bodyguard named Luca. He was kind. Gentle. He offered me a smile. Damien saw. And that night. He didn't speak. He didn't touch. But his anger bled through the walls. At dinner, he leaned close. His voice was quiet, but sharp enough to slice. Flirting with my men now? I wasn't, I said. He stared at me for a long moment. Wear the red dress tomorrow. Why? Because I want them all to see what they can never touch. The cracks appear. He was unraveling. He hid it well, behind silence and scotch, but I saw it. The way his eyes lingered too long. The way his fingers brushed mine when they didn't need to. The way he watched me when he thought I couldn't see. He wanted to break me. But I was already breaking him. And deep down, I liked it. Because the devil had started to fall. And he didn't even know it. It was storming. Again. The kind of night made for monsters and confessions. I found him in the library, shirt unbuttoned, eyes dark. He looked at me like I was the last sin he hadn't committed. Then, without a word, he kissed me. Hard. Desperate. Like a man who'd finally touched what he'd sworn to destroy, and realized he couldn't let it go. When he pulled away, I slapped him. And he laughed. "You'll burn me," he whispered. "Then why are you still holding the match?" I shot back. I wore the red dress. Low cut. Vice lit. Bare-backed. Exactly how he wanted. But I didn't wear it for him. I wore it to punish him. To walk beside him like a flame he couldn't touch, like the ruin he couldn't escape. Damien Voss said he didn't want me. He said he only wanted revenge. But when I walked into the room that evening, his glass froze mid-air. And when his men looked at me, he looked at them like he was ready to commit murder. I smiled. He might have chained me. But he'd forgotten one thing. Even a caged lion remembers how to bite. He took me to a dinner meeting at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. Elegant men. Dangerous smiles. Business deals sealed with whiskey and blood. I sat beside him like a secret weapon. Silent. Beautiful. Deadly. One of his rivals, a lean man with scarred knuckles, let his gaze wander. He didn't even speak to me. Just looked. That was enough. Damien's hand slid to my thigh under the table. Tight. Claiming. A warning. "She's not a guest," he told the man coldly. "She's mine." The entire table went quiet. Even I held my breath. Then the man chuckled. "Everyone wants a pretty toy, boss. Some of us just share better." Damien stood up. So did his guards. The man didn't laugh anymore. Neither did anyone else. Back in the penthouse, he didn't speak. Not until he slammed the door and pushed me against it. "You did that on purpose," he growled, his hand on my throat, not squeezing. Just holding. Dominating. "You brought me there dressed like this," I hissed. "What did you expect?" "I expected obedience." I laughed. "And I expected freedom." He leaned in. Our mouths inches apart. Breath mixing like poison. "You'll never be free of me," he whispered. "Even if I let you walk, your soul would crawl back to me." "I'd rather die than crawl to you," I spat. His lips brushed mine. "You say that," he whispered, "but your body tells a different story." And then he kissed me again, hard, brutal, claiming, and I let him. Because in that kiss, I felt something. Fear. But not mine. His. He was beginning to lose control. And I was the reason. Her name was Isabel. She arrived in heels sharp enough to kill and a voice drenched in velvet poison. I watched from the staircase as Damien's expression shifted. Not anger. Not hate. But something worse. Wound. Raw. Unhealed. Buried deep. She kissed his cheek like she still owned him. I didn't like that. I didn't like the way she looked at me either, like I was a replaceable toy. I descended slowly. Damien didn't introduce me. So I did it myself. I'm Arya, I said, holding out my hand. His obsession. Isabel's smile twitched. Careful, she said sweetly. Obsession burns out fast. Especially with him. Damien said nothing. Which told me everything. That night, I confronted him. Who is she? He poured himself a drink. His back to me. She's a ghost. You looked at her like she still breathes fire inside you. She doesn't. Then why didn't you deny it? He turned slowly. She broke me once. I don't owe you the story. I walked up to him, eyes blazing. No, you just want to break me because someone else already broke you. That got his attention. He grabbed my wrist, pulled me flush against him. You know nothing about me. I held his gaze. Unflinching. Defiant. I know you're afraid of feeling again. His silence was confirmation. Then I said the words that undid him. Which is why you keep trying to drown me in fire, so you never have to face your own. The next morning, the collar was gone. He'd taken it from my neck sometime in the night. I found it folded neatly on the windowsill. And beside it, a note. You win for today. But don't forget who holds the chains. D. I didn't know whether to feel relieved or disappointed. But I wore a smile anyway. Because cracks were forming in the devil's walls. And I was the storm seeping through. He didn't sleep beside me. Not yet. But that night, I stood in the doorway of his room. He looked up from a folder, frowning. What are you doing? Inviting the devil into his own fire. He closed the file. Stood. Walked to me slowly. We stood inches apart. Then he stepped aside and let me in. No words. No threats. Just a man and a woman, both burning and broken. We lay beside each other fully clothed. No kisses. No touch. Just shared silence. And that was more dangerous than anything else. Because in that silence, I felt the shift. Not just in me. But in him. He wasn't trying to destroy me anymore. He was trying not to fall. She didn't come back alone. She brought a warning. My father wants his empire back, she said. And he wants her as leverage. She pointed to me. I didn't flinch. Damien did. You brought this war to my doorstep, he asked her, voice colder than ice. I brought the truth, she snapped. She's your weakness. Everyone can see it. She's nothing to me. But his eyes betrayed him. So did the way he stepped in front of me. Protective. Dangerous. Too late. I was already in the crosshairs. The attack came that night. Explosives rocked the lower floors. Gunfire. Screams. Blood. I was pulled out of the bed by one of his guards and shoved into a panic room. Stay here, the man said. He'll kill me if anything happens to you. I waited in the dark. Heart pounding. Then the door opened. But it wasn't Damien. It was Isabel. And she had a gun. She said, circling me like a wolf. You were the crack in his empire. So now I'll fix it. You won't kill me, I said. She smiled. No. But I'll make him watch. Then a second shadow filled the room. Damien. Bleeding. Breathing like a monster. His eyes locked on me. Then on her. Put the gun down, he said. Or what? Isabel sneered. I'll shoot you where you stand. You won't shoot me, she hissed. You once said you loved me. He raised the gun. I did. Bang. She collapsed. No hesitation. No last words. Just the silence of a ghost finally dead. The night he held me like he meant it. He pulled me into his arms. Tight. Shaking. His blood on my hands. Mine on his. We sat in the dark, surrounded by destruction. You killed for me, I whispered. I would burn this city for you, he whispered back. And I hate that truth more than anything. I touched his face. He closed his eyes. And in that moment. Damien Voss. The man who took me to his bed just to break me, finally broke for me. The body was gone. The blood was cleaned. But the silence, it lingered. Damien hadn't spoken since the night he shot Isabel. He barely looked at me. His empire was trembling beneath him, and I, the girl he once stole to hurt, now sat at the center of his storm like a calm flame. He was unraveling. And it was the first time I didn't want to win. I wanted to save him. But he'd never asked to be saved. He'd only asked to burn. I found his enemies before they found him. I used the voice he taught me to sharpen. I sat in rooms full of men twice my age and told them what would happen if they touched him. If they touched me. One man called me his whore. I shattered his wine glass in his face. The others understood quickly. I wasn't a victim anymore. I wasn't the girl in chains. I was the woman who had the devil's heart in her palm. And I was squeezing it just hard enough to remind him. It was raining when he finally spoke. He stood in the doorway of my room. Eyes tired. Shirt open. Wounds not just on his body, but in his soul. I never meant to fall for you, he said softly. I didn't answer. I brought you here to destroy your father. I wanted him to beg. And now? I asked. He laughed bitterly. Now, I'd kill him myself if it meant keeping you. My chest tightened. Then say it, I whispered. Say what you feel. I can't. Why? Because love is weakness, he growled. And I can't afford to be weak. Not for you. Not for anyone. I stepped toward him. Placed his hand on my chest. Then feel my heart, I said, and tell me if it's still weak after everything you've done to it. He couldn't. Because he knew the truth. I was the strongest thing he'd ever touched. He took me to his office the next day. There was a ring on the table. Black diamond. Custom cut. Sharp edges. I don't believe in love, he said. I raised an eyebrow. Perfect. Because I don't believe in fairy tales. He stepped closer. But I believe in you, he said. I believe in what we've built from pain. My heart slammed in my chest. This isn't a proposal, he said. It's a declaration. I'm listening. Be my queen, Arya. Not in white. Not in purity. But in power. In darkness. In blood. I smiled slowly. You're not asking me to marry you. No. You're asking me to rule with you. He nodded. I picked up the ring. Slipped it on. And whispered. Then let them bow. But every crown comes with war. My father, the man who gave me life and then offered me like a lamb, wasn't done. He came back. Not with words. But with fire. The building was bombed. 3 of Damien's men were killed. A message was delivered. You can have my daughter. But I'll take everything else. Damien stood on the balcony of our penthouse, watching the smoke rise from one of his casinos. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He just whispered. I'm going to end him. And this time. I didn't stop him. Because I wanted to end him too. We found my father in a private mansion by the sea. Alone. Arrogant. He didn't expect me to walk in beside Damien. He looked at me like a stranger. "Arya," he said. "You don't have to do this." "I don't," I said coldly. "But I want to." "You're not this girl," he sneered. "This isn't you." "Then maybe you should have treated me better when I was still soft." I pulled the gun from Damien's holster. Pointed it at the man who called himself my blood. And I didn't shake. But I didn't shoot. Not yet. Because I wanted him to feel it. The fear. The helplessness. The same things I once felt when he handed me to a monster. "I forgave you once," I said. "That was my mistake." And then Damien stepped forward. "I won't make the same one," he said, and pulled the trigger. My father collapsed. And I didn't flinch. Because justice didn't always come in white robes. Sometimes it came in black suits and red lips. The next morning, I woke up beside him. No war. No chains. No hate. Just him. Breathing beside me. Eyes closed. Vulnerable. Human. I traced the scar near his jaw. He didn't flinch. "You're not the man I met," I whispered. "And you're not the girl I stole," he replied. We destroyed each other. But somehow, we built something from the ashes. Not love. Not exactly. But something darker. Deeper. A bond sealed not with vows, but with survival. Our wedding wasn't in white. It was at midnight. In a cathedral filled with shadows and candles. He wore black. So did I. The priest didn't read a vow. Damien read it himself. "I took you to hurt you," he said. "And now I'd rip out my heart if you asked me to." "You already did," I whispered. And I stitched it back stronger. He slipped the ring back on my finger, the one that cut skin if you squeezed it too tight. Perfect. Because we'd never fit in softness. We were forged in fire. And we didn't need anyone's approval to burn together.